All right, welcome back to Forging the Fires podcast. I'm your host, Fireman Rob. Today's guest is Bobby. Bobby, you are the creator, the manifester of what we are at today. Tell me how that came about and kind of what the whole premise was behind it.
All this starts by you open your mouth. You say, I got an idea. What about? And then when you're surrounded by people of action, then things start to take shape.
Yeah.
And really that's, I could only attribute any success that we've had to the team that's around us, is just that they've just been, we take an idea and it doesn't die on the vine. Like,
yeah,
they go to work, and they don't stop working until they've got it right.
What does it mean to be able to provide this platform for people to be able to show their talents, to be able to show their passion? Because that's a huge thing that wasn't there before that you manifested for them.
Well, I was fortunate enough to have a career in professional rodeo and for a long time.
Yeah.
But I was slow to break into it. Like I worked 5 days a week so that I could rodeo 2 days on the weekend, and then I'd go back to work. And just because I knew that if I could just break through, then there was a chance that I could make a career out of this and not have to pay to do it. And I was fortunate enough that I was able to make a career out of it. But then once I got into it, it was evident to me that as good as it is to be able to live your dream, it needs to be better. Yeah. And so I've never been one to just sit on my laurels and just say, well, that's the way it is, And then I went through this cycle when I was rodeoing that you're happy to be there and you're just grateful for any opportunity. And then you're around for a while and you get to see, like, it could be better, and here's some areas I could see it improve. And then you speak up. And the system in traditional rodeo, where they're nonprofit organizations, and they're governed by committees and boards,
right?
Nothing changes, and it doesn't matter how loud you get. And then really what happens is you get to the point where you push and you try to make positive change, and you realize that you can't affect it in there. And then you start to get bitter, or you're perceived as bitter because you're the loud voice. Right. And so then it just kind of, from there, it turned into, let's do it on our own.
Yeah.
And that's been a rocky, hill to travel. But I mean, I feel like now we're getting some momentum, and, none of this happens without the right people being involved. And we've been so fortunate in that, everybody who's joined in with us, right, including the PBR, has joined in because they're like, I see what you're doing. I believe in the same thing. And I think we can go further together than we can apart. And so we continue to gain momentum.
I love that philosophy. I mean, obviously it was built into you, working 5 days a week and rodeo, just to be able to rodeo 2 days a week. Talk to me more about when you were younger. Like, what was that mindset that you had to be able to do that? Because that's not a normal, atypical mindset. What made you be able to have that mindset to be able to live that passion that you wanted, no matter what the cost was?
I don't know. I mean, I'm grateful that I had that desire put in me. I don't know what caused it. I mean, it's a God-given thing that causes us to want to do something, but then we have to apply action to it. And it was hard for me to break into this sport. Like, I wasn't good at it. I wasn't naturally talented. I wasn't naturally an athlete. I wasn't, it just didn't come easy.
Yeah.
But I was determined. That's probably the one thing I had in me. And I think that everybody that's on our team shares that same thing, is that they're all determined.
Right.
And so we just, rarely don't take no for an answer and try to find a way. I mean, there's got to be a way to succeed and to break through in this. And so we've tried things that haven't worked, but we're in a position, I'm grateful that we've been in the position that we have been able to try things. And, there's been some theories in rodeo, sort of industry wide, that we've disproved that won't work. And we've proven some things that will, and we've been able to affect change in traditional rodeo just sort of by leading by example in some respects. And so that they've had to we change the industry standard, and then sometimes people have to follow suit. Instant replay is one of those things. PBR started it a long time ago. It's been in professional sports forever.
Right.
PBR said, we're going to make bull riding professional sport and treat these guys like professionals, like they should be. They start it, and then we said, well, they're doing it, let's do it. So we started instant replay. And so now at every level, whether it's at the youth level, at the Women's Rodeo World Championships, or at a WCRA event, they have the opportunity to challenge calls, because at the heart of it all, we want the right call to be made. We want somebody, if they've qualified to come to one of our events, we want them to have not the conditions, not some random thing to take them out of contention, but to just be strictly based on their skill.
What is one of your favorite? You've got to have, a bunch of favorite stories, but what is one of your favorite stories that you've had since this inception, since you've kind of bucked the mold, let's put it that way? What is one of your favorite stories of triumph or of success?
Well, one of the ones that stands out to me was we introduced about 4 years ago the Triple Crown Rodeo, and so that was a program where if you won 3 WCRA majors in a row, you won $1 million bonus.
Jeez.
And there were several people who got close.
Yeah.
And then RC Landingham, right in this arena, a year ago, last December, he capitalized on it.
Oh, no kidding.
And he won his third major, and he won $1 million. And so knowing him, because I grew up in Oregon, he grew up in California. When he was just starting out, I was rodeoing full time, and so I got to see him a lot.
Yeah.
And he had a rough go to begin with, and his story was pretty inspiring. He'd rodeoed his whole career in a really tough event and hadn't earned $1 million. Right. And the chance to do it in one time, to be able to set your family up for life was that's, you talk about life-changing, that's life-changing.
Yeah.
And to be able to see that take shape and then to see other people have the chance at it and the confidence that they gained in themselves, even if they didn't capitalize on it,
right,
I think was huge, because nobody gets that.
No.
That's a heck of a deal. So that was really cool. The other thing that stands out to me is seeing like these, this week at the Women's Rodeo World Championship, seeing the challengers, these girls. When we first started doing this, it was funny because like the first time that we did a WCRA major and we had breakaway roping at Chicago, Illinois. Okay. And so at that point we would move in with a PBR Unleash the Beast event. We go in there Friday night. So Chicago's forever away from everything that's going on in rodeo, and it's January, right?
Beautiful.
And so, beautiful in Chicago. So we go up there and we, at the time, I had it in my mind that I wanted to make sure that everybody who drove to Chicago because they were going to run one head in the performance, I wanted them to get a chance to rope or run one head the night before to make sure that the stock was adequate, to make sure the conditions were good, to make sure that it wasn't just a cold go the first time that they went. And so we would run them through. And those breakaway ropers at that time hadn't had those opportunities. And you want to talk about nervous. Like you could just see it. They hadn't been in those situations. And then when we had the performance, some of them that you would have expected to capitalize were just too tight and didn't do good. Wow. Jackie Crawford wins it. She wins $50,000, which elevates women's rodeo. Like that was a big step for women's rodeo, and we could see it.
Yeah.
And it started to gain some momentum, but it was still, every time we would have one of those events, these ladies were just a little bit felt a little bit out of place because they hadn't been in those situations. Now you fast forward to now, and you take somebody like Amy Ort, who's 16 years old, who's been through our youth program.
Yeah.
It's like developmental leagues. You got youth, you got AAA, and you got the majors. Now she's made it to the majors. And
at 16 nonetheless.
At 16, and she's unfazed. And so she can back in there being against, Martha Angeloni and, Jordan Joe and all of these gals who are icons in her event and be unfazed by it. And so you see this with other youth sports, with select leagues and everything else. And you see them when they finally make it to the majors at 18 years old, they're like a well-oiled machine. Well, that didn't just happen because they were just they have to be a phenomenal athlete, but the grooming that takes place to get them to that point hasn't been there in rodeo before.
Right.
You have to be 18 in traditional rodeo to have the chance to go start to pay your dues, basically.
Right.
And then when you pay your dues, you're doing like I was doing. You're working 5 days a week and rodeoing on the weekends, unless you're just a standout, but you don't get to go to the places where you're backing in against the big names and stuff. Right. And so you don't get those situations. You're earning your way through going to county fair rodeos and all that. And there's so many things that weed them out between there and when they finally make it.
Yeah.
That it's discouraging. It's hard on your finances. It's hard on your family. It's hard on your body. Right. And so, whether it's your horses that you're riding and competing on and hauling, or it's your body as a riding event person, you've only got so much tread on the tires. Every time it goes around, it starts to wear off. And so if we can get these kids earlier, get them conditioned to where they understand how it works, understand how to compete at this level, understand how to take care of themselves and treat themselves as professionals and their horses as professionals, then maybe they don't have to go to 120 rodeos a year and wear themselves out. Right. And so I just think that there's a better way to do it. And I'm not, this has never been meant to be a replacement for regular rodeo, traditional rodeo. It's just like this complements it. And a lot of these ladies that, will leave here, they're going to take the earnings that they got and they're going to apply them to pursuing their dreams of making it to the national finals and winning world championships, and allows them to do that where otherwise winning it 1,300 at a time when you got to put 1,000 into getting there, you just can't get ahead.
You can't get ahead. That's such an opportunity that you've given people. And I love the way that you talked about your team. They're all as resilient and as they figure things out. When you put together that team, what were you looking for in the individual? Because I think it had to be somebody that was willing to work 5 days a week and then at the same time work the other 2.
No,
exactly.
It's more like 7. And
that's exactly
and
right.
I didn't pick them. They came to us.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, it started out with Scott Davis, myself, and Sammy Joe Smith from our previous effort at trying to create a rodeo organization.
Okay.
And then people started to come to us slowly but surely. Like there's something about our culture that has attracted the right kind of talent.
Yeah.
And there's been some people that have come that didn't fit that culture, that didn't stay long, but if you're not willing to, there isn't anybody on our crew that won't go 7 days a week. I mean,
8 days if possible.
Not that we require that, but I mean, it's just,
yeah.
It's like this last couple of weeks, we had a DY showcase starting last Tuesday in Rodeo Corpus Christi. We had rodeo from Wednesday through Saturday. Yeah. Saturday night, we finish up. We don't get done loading out the production trailer till 1:30 in the morning. On Sunday morning. We're up here in Fort Worth. Corpus Christi to Fort Worth isn't close.
No.
Up here, and we have, the Backnumber Gala going on Sunday evening, and we're starting Monday morning. We've been doing the Women's Rodeo World Championship all this week. We've got Kid Rock's Rockin' Rodeo tomorrow, and we've got, the finale for the Women's Rodeo World Championship Saturday at AT&T Stadium. So, it's been a lot, and before that we had, because we manage all of our leaderboards and the software and everything else. And so closing those segments or those seasons leading up to it, pairing the team roping teams, and so there's somebody at every juncture on our team who's taking special attention to make sure that every T is crossed and every I is dotted.
Where can somebody go to find out more? Because obviously you can tell the passion and what you're doing. Where can somebody find out more about the programs and things like that they can get into? Yeah.
So there's basically three different, it's all under the WCRA, right?
Yep.
World Champions Rodeo Alliance. And so we have our youth division, which is Division Y or Division Youth. So, that's dy.rodeo.
Okay.
WCRArodeo.com. That's the main page. And WRWC, which is Women's Rodeo World Championship, you could go to womensrodeo.com.
Right.
And you can find anything about that. So basically it depends if you're a youth, if you're a guy and you're open, or a gal and you're open, or you're a female who wants to compete specifically in that.
Right.
And then within women's, there's 3 different classifications. Basically, there's pro, there's challenger, and there's limited, which is new this year. And so your novices, your semi-pros or up-and-comers, and your pros. And so there's a way for everybody to compete. And that's been one of the goals from the beginning is try to grow and improve rodeo.
Right.
Well, you can't do that by only catering to the pros. You have to you have to find a way to make it to where entry level people can get in.
Right.
Because, you know, one of the things that I think anybody who's spending time around rodeo can attest to is it's hard. There's not a rodeo for dummies book.
No.
Like there's not a singular go-to place that you can go and find out everything you need to know about rodeo. You got to ask somebody who knows about it and you get their opinion. And so we have people who are just 100% devoted to customer service. And we're the only rodeo organization that I know of that have a customer service team that if you create a profile in WCRA, you're going to get a phone call from a person. And they're not going to quit either. You might as well just answer it. They're going to call, and they're not somebody they're not an outsourced person. They're somebody on our team who knows all of the ins and outs of our organization. They're going to try to answer your questions. They're going to try to encourage you. They're going to say, what do you do? Where are you going? Where do you live? How can I help you? And then that's your point of contact. And then when you talk to that person, you say, I have a question. You call that person. And they may be, they may be cooking dinner, who knows, but they're going to answer the phone and they're going to say, how can I help you? And then they can help guide you through it. Then when you start to figure it out, then it just kind of goes on its own. But so at the heart of it all is we have the world's largest qualifying platform.
Okay.
It's called the Virtual Rodeo Qualifier. So there's a database that has every single event that takes place in North America in this database. And so if there was from a small, jackpot barrel race or team roping to the largest rodeo on earth and everything in between, from youth rodeos to open rodeos to pro rodeos to everything, they're all in there. Yeah. And so you go on the app and you can register. When you go to WCRArodeo.com, you can find your way to the app. You register, you create a profile. You can search by keyword from the name of the event, from the town that it's in, from anything like that. And so then you search it, you find the event, and then so we have them categorized in what we call divisions. And it's basically that's determined by the amount of money that it pays out, which is a reflection on the competition, right? So if it's multiple rounds, if it pays more, if it pays less, all those things affect what division it is. That division is a set nomination price. Okay. And so when you go on there, you say, I'm going to Fort Worth, Texas on Friday night to the Stockyards Rodeo. You would select it. You would select your discipline. I'm in the team roping and the heading. Mm-hmm. And so then you pay a nomination fee. There's points that are awarded based on how you place when you come here. Okay. So we're tracking the results. And so we get the results from Stockyards and we say, okay, you won third because it's a Division 4 event is worth X amount of points. Those points go to the leaderboard. We track those leaderboards to the majors that we have. So whether it's for youth, whether it's for WCRA has Rodeo Carolina in October, and it has Rodeo Corpus Christi in May. Okay. And so there's a 6-month lead up to each one of those. And so it's basically a shortened season. And so you could say, look, I'm a school teacher. I don't get to, be gone all during the school year, but Rodeo Carolina would suit me because I could do it in October, right? And I could rodeo through the summer. I could go to jackpots or whatever. My horse runs good at my hometown arena. Every time I go there, he does good, but I would like to see how he does against Stephanie Fryer, right? And so you can do that. Wow, and so that's cool. What happens, we see this a lot. You'll see people who are a standout in their area, and they just wonder, could I do it if I had the chance?
Such
and
opportunity.
We've seen those people take that. They go to a WCRA major and they capitalize, and they're like, you know what? We are pretty good. So they take that momentum and they take that money that they've won, and then they apply it to continue to chase it. And so
it's creating dreams is what it is.
It does. And we've seen people go on and qualify for the national finals. We've seen all kinds of really cool stuff, but it just, people need a break. Yeah. It's tough to get a break these days.
Well, you're giving them that. Yeah. I appreciate you explaining all this and doing what you do, because there's so much need for people to be able to follow their passion and have people that understand that. And obviously you do. So I appreciate your time today.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you next time.